For more on Hollywood's big night and the film industry, joining us from Los Angeles is Jamaal Finkley. He's the CEO and executive producer of BlackTree Television. Here with us in our Washington, D.C. studio is Seema Sirohi. She's a columnist for Gateway House and the Economic Times. And from London, we're joined by Patrick Gamble, who's a writer and film critic. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Jamaal, let me start with you. It's time for the Oscars again. That's Hollywood's big night on Sunday. But for the past 2 years, people of color have not featured in the acting categories at the Oscars. Now we come to this year. There's nominations for 6 African-American themed movies. There's something like 10 nominations for black actors and filmmakers. And of course, there's a nomination for the Indian adventure, Lion. What's changed this year?
I think opportunities. I mean, you want to think that just the protest from a year ago would have made change, this year. But most of these films have already been kind of in the making for a couple of years, and it's just been the opportunities, and I think it's been the diversity of the voting academy also that's brought some other films to be highlighted. This year Cheryl Boone Isaacs did an initiative and added a lot more diverse and younger voting members to the Academy. I think those people recognize movies that might not have been recognized without those members. So I think that's part of it. I mean, it's still a long way to go, and it's nothing to say that, that diversity is here to stay in Hollywood. But this year, for sure, there's been a great number of pictures with great themes and with a lot of diversity behind the camera, at least for African Americans. There's still been a lot of complaints from Latino and Asian actors for the same gripes for representation. So we still have to see that progress go all the way around and reflect the world that we live in.
Right, and Jamaal, I guess in addition to diversity, we're also seeing pure great talent as well.
Yeah. Great year for film, a great year for film critics. Sometimes it's a duty to watch and screen all these movies, but this year it's definitely been a plethora of great just content, even beyond the Academy on TV, there's been great content, and on the streaming services, there's been great content, and even the documentary section of the Academy Awards this year has been very interesting. Like all the documentary movies I really love. So I think it's just a great year for movies, and it's good that diversity is playing a part in that also.
Right, Seema, you come from India. That's a country which is the world's most prolific producer of movies. Most of them of the song and dance variety. You do get other movies made in India as well. But now we have Lion, a movie that's set in India but produced and directed by Australians. It's just been released in India. How do you think a movie like that would do in India?
I think it should do fairly well. It's a sympathetic portrayal. Slumdog Millionaire, on the other hand, was criticized because it it was called poverty pornography.
Right.
They were showing poverty in a way that Indians were not comfortable with. Indians don't want to deny that there's poverty in the country, but this fetishization of poverty was very problematic. I think the Lion is much better in that sense. It's more sensitive, and it's a basic story of a lost boy trying to find his original family. So yeah, it's a very emotional story.
Right, it's a great story. It's a great storyline. And I guess the other thing that makes it so attractive is the fact that it's a true story.
Exactly. So, without revealing too many details, I think that is the gripping part. And I really like the idea that they showed the actual guy.
Right, it's based on characters that are actually living right now. Let's bring in Patrick from London. Patrick, year after year, we look at the Oscar ceremony and we see British actors and actresses going up, picking up awards there, making those acceptance speeches. Not just actors and actresses, we see British creative talent on display at the Oscars, technicians. All this talent coming from Britain. How does that explain the fact that Britain itself does not have a thriving movie industry?
Well, I mean, we kind of do. The problem with the British film industry at the moment, though, is that it tends to just churn out these films that we kind of feel America wants to watch. So we're putting out a lot of costume dramas, a lot of biopics, and that's not really what a lot of the filmmakers here want to make. At the same time, though, there's also a lot of tax breaks in the UK now, which sees a lot of American productions moving over here, and we're getting to see a lot of kind of the technical talent coming over from Hollywood, and they're working over here and training a lot of our own crew.
Jamaal, you were talking earlier on about the opportunities for minority actors in Hollywood. As you pointed out, it's not just African-American actors and actresses who are affected, it's other minority groups as well, Hispanics, Asians as well. There is a company in Hollywood, a Hispanic company, which is headed by a man called Santiago Pozo. He said that it's not just black actors who are underrepresented in Hollywood, it also affects Hispanic actors. He described it, and I'm quoting him here, as a terminal illness for our business and the relevance of the Academy Awards. So in that respect, Hollywood has a lot of work to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, like I said, it needs to really reflect society. So it was great that, you know, the protests from last year got attention because the nominees, while they were very, you know, critically acclaimed, it wasn't reflective of society to look at an award show that only seemed to honor certain people when there's other great artists from different ilks and races and ethnicities that should be recognized. So I think Hollywood has a long way to go, and like I said, there's nothing saying that what's happened this year will be repeated next year. There's no blueprint for that. So I hope that the inclusion of different voting members and the inspiration that's been given out to filmmakers to make content with diverse stories, and even the BAFTAs have made like some proclamation about what they should do as far as nominees and diversity and inclusion in those films. I think if the filmmakers and the creative community continues to keep that in mind when they're creating a film, I think we'll see that continue, and we'll see films with, you know, other films being nominated with other ethnicities more often.
Patrick, what is the situation in Britain? You know, as you pointed out, there is a movie industry there, albeit smaller than Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But is it diverse? Does it reflect, you know, the British population, which is a diverse population?
In some ways, it does. I mean, now more than ever, it's easier to make a film, and in Britain, there's so many film festivals happening all the time where a whole new range of diverse filmmakers are coming through. I think the big problem is that whilst the industry itself is trying to change, the same obstacles are still in place. You still have the same kind of gatekeepers there. So it's a lot easier now for, you know, working class kids from different backgrounds to pick up a camera and make a film. But at the same time, it's becoming harder and harder to actually get that film seen by a wider audience.
Seema, when it comes to the movie market, if I could put it that way, the place where movies are consumed, India seems to be in a unique place because if you look at most countries, Hollywood dominates the domestic market in most countries. If you look across Africa, South America, or even Asia, it's the Hollywood movies that dominate there. But India's completely different because it has maneuvered itself into a position where it dominates. The domestic movie industry dominates the market there. How do you explain that? Is there no big appetite for Hollywood in India?
No, there is. But I think Hollywood, while it's good on technology and, you know, it's a very savvy marketing machine, I think it lacks the emotional content that Indians want. So after a point, for Indians, movies are entertainment. It's kind of an escape from reality because the number of tickets that are sold is much more than Hollywood. Because from the poor to the very rich, everybody goes to the movies. And they want to see something that is kind of real, but not very. But they don't want to see technological wonders all the time. That's a different genre, but Hollywood, most of their movies are like that. It hasn't been able to break into Bollywood because I think the stars that we have are very, very powerful, and right. Indians love them. They're bigger lines for them than for a Tom Cruise film when both are released at the same time in India.
Great. We are going to take a break right now. A look at some of the films and performances nominated by this year's Academy for Best Picture. After that, we'll be back with more on our discussion.
I just heard you play, and I wanted... It's pretty strange that we keep running into each other.
Maybe it means something.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You don't want to be my guardian? That's fine with me.
Not that. It's just the logistics.
All my friends are here. I got 2 girlfriends, and I'm in a band. You're a janitor in Quincy. What the hell do you care where you live?
You okay?
I had another family. A mother. A brother. I can still see their faces.
What happened?